Yeah, hi guys. This is a story about three guys that bought this Beneteau First 36-7 a couple of years ago in a small village called Greennock, just east of Scotland. And this is how we took the boat home to Copenhagen, Denmark. We had a most fantastic trip all over, and the first trip of the day was down to Campbelltown, small town on the peninsula of Mull of Kintyre, very well renowned place. And we got a lot of photographs, not that much video from our trip, unfortunately. But we still managed to get a good story together. This is from the day we departed from Campbelltown, and as you can see, the wind was about 30 knots. We're not totally scared of those conditions, but this was our first time sailing in waters with that much current, and we've read a lot of warnings and saw a lot of video on YouTube and other stuff about what to do when rounding the Mull of Kintyre. So I feel we were pretty good prepared for our trip up to Oban. So this is actually footage from the day after we arrived. We arrived rather late in the evening, and there wasn't much visitors in the marina. So we just needed a place to stay over and to time our next departure. So we had a bit of time before we left Oban to take the time up to Copenhagen. And there's a place just there in the middle where you need to time your arrival with the current, called Corin, and I think we left about 11 o'clock before we arrived at the place. Yeah, so I have to admit that we were actually looking forward to more action when passing these narrow places with a lot of current, but maybe we were just lucky or timed it very well. We have about 1.5 knots of current going with us when we passed the small ferries here at Corin, so it didn't feel much action, or how do you say that? And you can see just in the middle that the water turns just strange, and but actually the most difficult part was the wind conditions, because the mountain slides just generates a lot of strange winds when we pass by here.
Det ser helt vildt ud, det derhenne.
Yeah, and that was just about the most action-packed part of the voyage through the currents. As you could see, it was the wind that we struggled more with than the current. And not that long afterwards, we decided just to take the sails down and start the engine and head for Copenhagen and the canal, get things sorted, and as you can see on the water, the wind was pretty slow as well. It's a very beautiful trip, and we also just get to see the tip of Mount Nevis there. And we just arrived just before closing, and only reached to the inner basing of the canal. And this is actually our first trip up the canal's openings, which did cost us a bit of scratches on the gel coat, unfortunately. But it was quite a different change to what we've been used to, and obviously we needed to celebrate that as well. And then bright and early the next morning, after 3 days at sea, we started our passage through the Caledonian Canal. We expected it to last 2, maybe 3 days. And this is our first trip into the locks called Neptune Staircase.
Og der står folk på kajen og filmer også. Godt, der ikke kommer tog.
Søndag. And originally we planned to be here a couple of days before we actually did. But the canal had been under great renovation work all winter and didn't open before that. And as you can see, we were also the only boat passing the Neptune Staircase at this particular time. We didn't see a lot of other boats during our passage.
Det er ikke nu. Du må lige vente.
Mulle. And the lower parts of the locks are pretty dirty, so we try to keep the boat away from the sides because the fenders and everything was just getting extremely smushed with all sort of nasty stuff. So it was just a matter of pushing her away. And I think this is our second lock or something like that, and it doesn't take much, many locks to get used to the routines of letting go of the lines and pulling forward. And yes, we did see some traditional British weather for April, I guess. But as you can see in just a few moments, we actually ended up in the most fantastic weather in Fort Augustus. But we didn't see that until the next day because the lock simply wasn't opened yet. And we ended up at this fantastic old. And all of a sudden, the weather was fine, warm and sunny. Unfortunately, when we arrived at Fort Augustus, they've decided to send a lot of boats the wrong way up the stairs. So we had quite some hours to spend there before we were let go down into Loch Ness. which is where this footage is from. And yeah, people started relaxing, reading their books, checking their emails, and I just sat there watching the view, and little did they know what they missed when suddenly, shame on them. Oh, look, a castle. And then our night stopped at Dock Garage, or whatever you say, and we passed on the next day towards Inverness. And then we exited the canal, and a quick refill of diesel, and then our trip went under the Keswick Bridge and into the North Sea. And all of a sudden things started to look a bit different again. And we had about 15 knots of wind across the North Sea from east-southeast or something like that, until we reached the coast of Norway, where it totally died and clear and good weather again. And this is just the time when we rounded Skagen at the northern Jutland. Fantastic day, and we could get the spinnaker flying, and we had to stop shortly in Skagen to refuel diesel because we spent a lot of diesel rounding Norway. And yeah, what every Danish sailor just enjoys to see is Kronborg Castle, and we were almost home to Copenhagen, and we had to celebrate that the best way we could.